tasting this morning. We've got Mark Allen, the export director of Louis Latour, and we're going to taste five Burgundies this morning. I had a few of these yesterday, and they're exceptional. Mark, welcome to Vancouver. You've been here before.
Yeah, I have, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Cool. So, Latour, explain to listeners just a little history of Louis Latour.
So Maison Latour is a family-owned company of more than 200 years, established in 1797. 11 generations of family members have run the company. It's the 7th Louis Latour, who's the current managing director and president of Louis Latour. Of course, we are specialized in Burgundy wines, but just for your knowledge of Burgundy, Burgundy is in northeastern France, running from Chablis down to the south of Beaujolais, and Maison Latour has always been specialized in those wines. But we've also been a house that has innovated and looked to try and push the boundaries of wines from Burgundy a little bit further south. And in 1979, Louis Latour actually established Chardonnay vineyards in the Ardèche region, and in 1991, Pinot Noir wines, which we'll be tasting the Domaine de Valmoisine down in the Var. So we are going to be tasting Burgundy, but two of those wines today are actually from our off-Burgundy line.
Well, not everybody can afford a 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 bottle. So if you could take Chardonnay, put it in a lesser known area, but have the care and quality that you take in Burgundy, you get pretty good value of wine.
The whole idea at Maison Latour was that in the 1970s, we were looking for another area outside of Macon where we could find value Chardonnay, value Pinot Noir, and the consumption of wines in France and around the world has always gone towards premium levels, but there's also, as wine has become more and more democratized, people looking for value-added products. And here we have two wines, the Grand Ardèche and Domaine de Valmoisine, which offers full Chardonnay, full Pinot Noir characteristics in a French winemaking style, but at a very affordable and great quality.
I think this is about $22, $23 in the market.
Right.
So here's what I like to do, is you pull wines out of the cupboard or the dishwasher, and there could be a little smell from the cupboard or the dishwasher. So I always like to kind of burn the glasses, give it a little rinse, dump it, and then
Beautiful, yeah.
do a taste. So how many hectares is this vineyard?
Well, Louis Latour, actually, what we've done in the Ardèche is it was a very special operation. Is that we went down to the Ardèche and we didn't actually plant our own vineyards. We federated a number of wine growers down there who helped us. We gave them the techniques, we worked with them, they planted the vineyards, they farmed the vineyards, and we helped them technically, we helped them bring in the harvest, and then we have our own winery. It's hand harvested, this Grand Ardèche, and of the 350 hectares in the Ardèche that are planted with Chardonnay, we have about, I think, 90 hectares planted on the slopes, which are the perfect area for the more specialized, more premium Chardonnay grapes. And you get afterwards hand-picked fruit, quality fruit, where we're getting about 45 hectoliters per hectare of production. And then they go through the full, we say the full Louis Latour fermentation process with a barrel fermentation that come in Louis Latour barrels, and those same barrels that are used for Corton Chardonnay. Of course, the Corton Chardonnay is our flagship wine from the Côte d'Or of Burgundy.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just there earlier this year. Yeah. So this is almost like a super co-op in a sense.
I call it my baby Corton Chardonnay, to be honest.
Okay, let's taste.
It's not a super. No, it's a 100%. An operation which is 100% governed by Louis Latour, but of course, planting vineyards is always an expensive job, highly capital intensive, and it was an association with local growers that made them answerable to the vineyards and to the quality of the fruit, but at the same time they were wanting, I would say, a direct link to making wine without having to be in the actual winemaking.
And selling it also.
And selling it.
And
yeah.
selling it.
Yeah.
And they're almost...
because don't forget, the Ardèche was a really very well-known region for agriculture, for fruit,
right.
for farming, but very little for white wine, especially white wine. And so it was a tremendous risk for them and for us at the time, although it wasn't a risk because we know the soils are just like Burgundy. Right. But it was an area that wasn't very well known for white wine. So for them to get paid before the wine was sold, it's
not a bad deal.
It's not a bad deal for them.
Yeah.
So we have a wonderful Burgundy light fermentation, as I say, in barrel. 8 months in barrel. Barrels of 2-3 years mostly, very few bits of new oak in it. And you have a wine which has that Burgundian nose, Burgundian feel to it, with the minerality which is so important in our French winemaking style and Burgundy winemaking style.
I love this. I mean, for $22, $23, it's a great value, and it doesn't have that, and it's completely seamless. It's not disjointed.
Full malolactic.
Full malolactic. It's rich.
Full
it's round. This is a.
It's a food wine.
It's a food wine, and even through with my cold, the remnants of my cold, I'm still getting the complex flavors on it. It's pretty. It's really good. I'm enjoying it.
It's a great wine and great value.
Okay, next, let's go. Oh, I had this yesterday. Okay, video's over, guys. I'm out for the day. Tell us about this. This is a 2011 Hospice de Beaune Meursault. So this is pretty unique. There's a little special story behind it.
So yeah, we come really to the heart of Burgundy, and for those who don't know, Burgundy's obviously 2,000 years of history. Hospice de Beaune, 1495.
1495 with Nicolas Rollin.
1495, Nicolas Rollin.
Yep.
That's right. He set up the Hospice de Beaune for poor people to be able to have medication in those medieval days, and to pay for that service. People donated vineyards.
That's right.
To the hospice.
Yep.
And over the years, there's now 50 hectares of premium and Grand Cru vineyards
that belong to the hospice.
That belong to the hospice. And every year they get auctioned off on the 17th of November, or the third week of November, third weekend of November, for charity.
Yep.
And this is part of that.
So this historical context, going from 1495, was emulated in California in Paso Robles for the Hospice de Rome. There's a big event in there, and the money is raised for the barrel auction. Really cool Syrahs. I bought some from Jade Mountain years ago, and it goes to a great cause. Just as a side note, and I don't want to get political here, but this is something that I've been trying to convince the government on, to have auctions, charitable auctions for it, and they say no. I don't understand it, but anyway, and there's no riots in France, and it's been going on maybe started in the 1400s, but I guess they're wiser than us. Anyway, back to wine. It was, I think, Anthony Van Manuel bought a barrel or 2 barrels?
That's right.
He
bought a barrel of Meursault and a barrel of Beaune.
This is, I don't know where the vineyards are in Meursault, but this is classic Chardonnay. This is delicious. This is delicious.
2011 vintage was a classic vintage in Burgundy. We had a vintage which was quite cool, but created the dynamics for wines, not only to have powerful aromas and powerful texture, but also the refreshing, the lovely, cool mineral flavors that are very important in the balance of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
This is simply delicious. For people that say, oh, I like California, I like my BC, I like my Oregon Chardonnay. Yeah, there's some good wines. Try this. This takes it to a next level. This is stunning wine.
Again, not overly oaked.
That's good.
Great texture, great minerality to have a wine which has a balance between the power and the texture of great fruit which is well matured, but at the same time a wine which has a fresh acidity and gives the wine that texture and tonality to be not only drunk today, but why not in 10 years' time?
Easily, and it's refreshing.
It's refreshing.
We better move on. So, Pinot Noir. Dalmatien. This is from the Ardèche also?
No,
this was...
the Ardèche was selected by our enologist and winemaker back in early 1979, and we started making the wines, the Chardonnays from the Ardèche and distributing them, and we were the first to call our wine not just after a location or a region that is often the case in France, but we used the varietal labeling, so it was the Ardèche Chardonnay. So this was a revolution at the time. Today, of course, everybody sees that as quite normal, but it was a revolution, and Louis Latour was the first French winery in France to varietal label its wines with the Ardèche Chardonnay. The Ardèche, however, was we esteem not perfectly well adapted to the Pinot Noir. It's a little bit arid, a little bit too much limestone orientated. We needed a little bit more iron and clay in the soil. Right. But outside of Burgundy, we found the region which was surprisingly even further south than the Ardèche, called the Var.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Between Draguignan and Saint-Tropez, for those who get an idea. So almost right on the southern coast, high up, 550 meters above sea level. A beautiful place called Aups, A-U-P-S, where we have, on an old monastic site, great sort terroir with a mixture of limestone and clay, just like Burgundy, with the cooling winds off the sea that create this perfect environment for a cool climate. Even if it's warmer than Burgundy, we would still terminate it as a cool climate Pinot Noir, and this is what's important compared to many other Pinot Noirs that are coming from elsewhere than Burgundy. It's important to have a cooling climate.
Well, this is, if people are used to drinking New World Pinots, this doesn't have that, I'm going to call it bombastic fruit or high alcohol. This is more on the savory notes, the mineral notes. Works well with food, and it's sort of my style of wine.
Pinot Noir, there's a psychology at Louis Latour is that we want to have wines which are Pinot orientated, which have a characteristic of Pinot Noir. We don't want to make Pinot Noir in a Merlot or a different style. Tempranillo style? Yeah, where we want to have Pinot in a Pinot style, which means that the wines aren't heavily extracted with long fermentations. We have a short fermentation of 9 days, 10 days to get the elegance and the finesse of the fruit, and yet because we are further south we do have a little bit more fruit dominated than we get in Burgundy, where we would say that we'll taste the Marseillais a little bit later on, a bit more austerity a little bit fruit, but you have this very early drinking, ripe fruit, which has got soft, elegant tannins, which are just delicious to be able to get your palate going with food or without food. I think that's what's important as well. Pinot Noir, you can drink it, of course, with a great food pairing wine, but without food, it's just as good as well. It's also a great Pinot Noir is also medicinal, but that's another video. I'll tell you my Roumier story. Okay, Marseillais, 2008 Marseillais. I'll go through you. Marseillais for a lot of people is a name that they might not know. Marseillais is a village up in the Côte de Nuit, so in the northern Côte d'Or. Far north, just above Gevrey-Chambertin,
Yep.
to give people a bit more of an indication. It was an appellation that was actually perhaps more famous in its day for rosé. It was one of the few appellations in Burgundy which was making rosé. And then, if my memory doesn't fail me, I think it was in 1997. It acquired appellation status.
That's right.
So, to be honest with you, it's a wine which has come to the forefront in the last 20 years, especially because of increasing prices in Burgundy for the I would say the
well-known estates or well-known vineyards.
Well-known appellations.
Yep.
Let's call it the appellations. Like Gevrey-Chambertin, Beaune Romanée, especially in the Côte d'Or wines, and it has left an opening for appellations like Marcenay or Centenay in the Côte de Beaune, or Saint-Aubin, that to create wines that are perhaps not quite as well known by the general public, but making wines that are of equally good status, equally good quality.
Very pretty.
Very pretty. And here we have a 2008, which was a vintage which was quite cool. Therefore makes wines which perhaps lack the depth of fruit that we would find in a vintage such as 2015 that we've just had, a fantastic vintage. But we're getting a wine now, we're now, what, 2008, almost 7, 8 years old, so it's the perfect time to drink.
It's lovely.
And
lovely.
Savoury, as you said, very savoury fruit, very savoury, nice soft tannins, and a great wine just to pop open when you need to. And again, value, good value.
Yeah. Little saline. I also get a little salinity to it too. It's got almost a sea breeze, thirst quenching quality. So if you're out of water and you drink some Marcenay. 2011 Hospice de Beaune Cuvée Nicolas Rawl. I love it. Right here.
So, yeah, I got my paintbrushes mixed up earlier on the history.
It's okay.
The Hospice de Beaune. Hospice de Beaune is obviously got one of the most established properties in Grand Cru and Premier Cru in Burgundy, of just over 50 hectares, which is consequently about the size of the Louis Latour property. We've got our own property, which where we have, can you believe it, 11 hectares of Courton Chalaman. That's our flagship white wine. You know, the Premier.
11
hectares, yeah.
All in one contiguous or different plots?
Slightly different plots, but more on the south-facing side, which is the warmer,
I know
slope.
where you are.
And then, of course, we have 16 hectares of Grand Cru Courton. So we're the largest owner of Grand Cru, single owner of Grand Cru in Burgundy, with 35 hectares of Grand Cru.
Wow.
But close by is the Hospice de Beaune. They have a wonderful domain as well.
Yep.
And this Beaune comes again. Anthony bought this with us when he came over for the Hospice de Beaune in 2012. No, 2011. So we have a wonderful wine. Beaune, of course, is known as being one of the most feminine areas for Pinot Noir. Very silky, very soft, very elegant.
It's got a little meaty texture.
And let me taste. I think
no, I didn't pour it for you.
I think I did it, yeah.
It's got that dried, I call it dried bark, crushed leaf, fresh tossed soil, like aired out terroir. I think this is great. I think it's, Sabrina, how much is it? It's going to be probably $80, $90.
61 is the retail.
61, 62 is retail for this. So it's, you know what, it's a great value.
And don't forget that because it's a Hospice de Beaune, there is always the charitable side of things.
Right.
Don't forget that even if we were talking about the Hospice de Beaune and being a charitable operation back in 1495, it still remains the biggest wine charity in the world today. So the money that is acquired during the sale goes to equipping the Beaune Hospital, which is for a small city of just over 25,000 people. There's a very good quality
Hospital.
hospital, and it enables us to have a high-end medical service,
Yeah.
and it's a great
This is what the wine brothers.
great skill or great opportunity for a little sleepy village of Beaune.
Well, here's the interesting thing before because it turned into a long video. Here's the thing about Beaune or Burgundy. You drive through it and you go, this is sleepy. This is, you know, not a lot of activity, but it's busy. Behind the closed doors, it's a classic
And it's
French-
cosmopolitan.
It's cosmopolitan. International, lots of Chinese, lots of Japanese people working as sommeliers, fluent in French. Americans working in the cellar, but
Large number of great restaurants.
Ma Cuisine, Cave Madeleine, Lolo's just opened a new place just off the ring road that used to own Cave Madeleine, and a whole bunch of other restaurants. So it's a great place, and of course the Abbey de Citeaux where you can get some great cheese.
No, so I mean, Beaune is a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
Very, very quaint, very sleepy, as you said,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's busy underneath.
Lots going on.
And there's always time for people to come and see Beaune.
Absolutely.
We welcome them.
All right.
We welcome them.
Thanks for listening, Mark. Thanks for your time.